Now we're switching into talking about how to count the number of outcomes. So we're not going to list the outcomes anymore. Instead, we're going to go ahead and switch to counting. So there's a couple ways to do this, and the first way to do this is called the multiplication rule. And sometimes it's called the fundamental counting method. If you research it, look for fundamental counting method. That's kind of where it goes into play. But what is it? So when we need to count the number of ways an event can occur, we need to use counting technique. More specifically, when we are asked to pick one item from distinct groups, so one item from each distinct group, you're going to use the multiplication rule. So think of it as breaking up into parts. Okay, and just picking one item from each group. Okay, that's when we would use this. And basically, you're going to take the number of ways. So let's say this is A, this is B, this is C. We're just going to multiply the numbers together on how many possible ways each group, how many options each group has. So to use this rule, you just need to multiply like we talked about above. Caution though, if there is a statement in which they say or. So perhaps we want to pick from this box or from this box of items. What you need to do is you need to separately add those numbers together. So let's say that's A and B. Let's add those together and then take that number and multiply it by the rest of the group. So just be careful if you see an or in any of your examples. Okay, so let's look at the first example. You are looking in your closet and you need to pick a pair of pants and a shirt to wear. So you're picking one item from each of these. So we could go ahead and draw our boxes. What are our boxes? Our boxes are, you need to pick one pant and you need to pick one shirt. Those are our boxes that we're picking one from each. Only one from each. Now you've narrowed it down to 3 pants and 4 shirts to choose from. So what we want to do is we want to say, okay, how many options do I have for the first group of items, which is 3? And then how about the second group? We have 4. All I have to do is multiply those two numbers together. So 3 times 4 is going to get me 12. So I have 12 options or possible combinations. Now that may seem like a lot for 3 pants and 4 shirts, but you got to imagine like each pant can be combined with one shirt. Okay, so here's one pair of pants. It's a green pair of pants. It can be combined maybe with a red shirt, the blue shirt, or the green shirt, right? And then you have to do, oh, there's 4 shirts. Maybe there's a black shirt in there too. Okay, 4 shirts. And you can do that with every single pant. So it's 3 pants times 4 shirts. So 3 times 4 is 12 possible options. So that's kind of where the multiplication rule comes into play. Let's try it again. This time we're working with Dolores. She's a young saleswoman planning her next business trip. She is thinking about packing 3 different pairs of shoes, 2 skirts, 2 pairs of slacks, 6 blouses, and 2 jackets. If all the items are color coordinated so they can all be placed together, I wish I had that ability. How many different outfits will she be able to create by picking a shoe, either a skirt or a slack, a blouse, and a jacket? So what are our boxes or groups that we're picking from? Well, it says, let's see, how many different outfits will she be able to create by picking a shoe? So we need to pick a shoe, right? Okay. Either a skirt or a slack. What did I tell you guys about that word or? We're going to have to be careful about it. Caution! Okay, so here it's going to be a skirt or a slack. So we know we're going to have to add those together. Be careful about that, okay? Because she's only picking one, either a skirt or a slack. You don't really wear a skirt with pants. That'd be weird, right? Okay. So then we have a blouse. That's next. So we're going to draw our little box for a blouse. And then she finishes off with a jacket. So once you figure out what she's picking from each, right? Okay, she's picking one blouse, one jacket. Then we can go ahead and fill in our numbers to figure out what are the possibilities. So how many shoes does she have to choose from? Well, if we read through the problem again, it looks like 3 different pairs of shoes. 3. Okay. Skirt. Let's see how many skirts she picked. She brought 2 skirts and it looks like 2 slacks. Blouses were 6 and then jackets were 2. So before we go ahead and multiply everything together, we need to do that, worry about that or problem. So we need to add together those 2 or situations. So skirt or slack, well, 2 options for skirt plus 2 options for slack means that you have 4 total options there to start with for skirt or slack. And then of course we just draw the rest up and we're going to multiply everything once we've dealt with the addition. So 3 times 4 times 6 times 2. You can grab your calculator. I don't want to give you the wrong answer. 3 times 4 is 12. 12 times 6 is 72. Times 2 is 144. So if we multiply those all together, we get 144 different combos. So you know when you're going on an airplane and you're like, I have nothing to wear. I highly doubt that. Well, as long as they're color coordinated and you can mix and match. You're not afraid of that, right? I'm not that talented. I wish I was. Because I pack way too much. But you have several different options, right? Because if you change out the shoe, it's a whole new combo. Who knew? Okay. So let's do one more example. When you get a debit card, you must choose 4 numbers to be your PIN number. How many choices do you have for a PIN number? So this one's kind of hidden in there that you're using the multiplication rule. Why? Because you're choosing 4 numbers and you can only have one choice for each number, right? Okay, one choice for each number. So each box here is a number you are picking. So number, number, number. I guess I could have written it out. It's not like it's that long of a name. Number, and there's 4, right? Number, and number. Wow, that's super sloppy. Okay, so you have 4 numbers, so 4 different boxes that you're only choosing one number from each, right? You can't suddenly switch out one of these numbers. Our PIN is not going to work. That'd be a terrible thing. Okay. So how many options do you have for the first number? So think of all the different options. So a lot of times people will jump to 9. But what if I were to tell you it was 10 choices? How did I come up with that? Well, yes, you can have 1 through 9, which is 9 choices, but you could also have 0 for the first number. So you can have 0 through 9 for that first number, right? So that's actually 10 choices. And the next box is actually the same. You have 10 choices again, right? 0 through 9, same thing. 0 through 9, same thing. 0 through 9, keep going. Okay. So notice for each number you have 10 choices. Just happens to be the same. So for each number you can pick any number between 0 and 9 when you're plugging away your PIN. I mean, you can have 0, 0, 0, 0 for your PIN number. I wouldn't recommend it, but it's possible. So what do? We have to go ahead and take the number of choices for each one and multiply them. 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 is 10,000? 10 to the 4th? Yes, okay. I always like to check this when I make recordings, just in case. So 10,000 different possibilities. So if you think it's easy to crack your PIN number, it's really not. You'd really have to have a computer program that would whip through all those different combos, right, to be able to break your PIN number and get in. Although I think it's funny, I just got a new iPad and they actually increased it so it's a 6-digit PIN. So if you think of a 6-digit PIN, right, we'd have to have 6 boxes, each with 10 choices. I don't know why my boxes are not the same size, but you can see how many choices or different combinations are there for 6 digits. That would be 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1 million different outcomes if you had 6. That is crazy. So you can see here 1 million different outcomes. That would be even tougher to break and would take the computer even longer to break the code for that. Crazy. Okay, so that was our first section on the multiplication rule. That's the first way of counting. So just keep in mind that this only applies when you're picking one item from distinct groups. Okay, so go ahead and keep moving on to the next counting method, which is going to be permutations and combinations.